make a point of really getting to know what each of the political parties in our country stand for. And the best way to do that is not on Facebook,
Yeah, yes.
right? Or in the media. It is go to their individual websites, look at what their principles are, what their current platform is. And, my husband is a pastor. You're not allowed in Canada to stand at your pulpit and say, get out and vote for so-and-so. But what he always said is, listen, whoever you support, you need to know what that party stands for, what their values are. You need to compare that to what Scripture says, and then where they're struggling to meet those requirements of God. If you're going to stay with that party, you need to be active in changing those things within that party.
Hi, and welcome back to the Saved Gen Z. Today we have a great interview with the amazing Cathay Wagantall. She is the Member of Parliament for Yorkton-Melville. She is a proud Christian, and she is involved in the community with organizing the National Prayer Breakfast and the National Christian Youth Summit, amongst other faith-related events. Before we get started with our interview, please subscribe if you haven't already, and consider hitting that notification bell. Cathay, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's my privilege to be here. Thank you for having me.
So how about we start off with you telling us a bit about your background and why you got involved in politics?
Well, thank you. Yes, my background is my husband and I run a small business in our hometown, which we returned to in 2011. And I had run in a nomination in Edmonton and lost at that point, and had come home and had another opportunity. And we both just really felt the Lord calling us as a couple to move forward with this. And I did run in another nomination and then in the election, and began serving in 2015. So always been in the back of my heart ever since I was quite a young girl in grade 6, I believe, when Canada celebrated its 100th. And I learned a great deal in school about our democracy in our country, and it just kind of twigged at that point in time. But clearly it was in the Lord's plans many, many years later.
Yeah, absolutely. He always has a great plan. I can kind
Mm-hmm.
of relate to that. I remember being in grade 3, and my school was beside the Liberal campaign office, and I just was really intrigued that we walk around with a Dalton McGuinty pin. Obviously, my views evolved over the years, but it's cool that we kind of share that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you're a devoted Christian. Can you share with us how your faith has guided you in your life as an MP?
Sure. Well, there's no question that my faith is crucial to my day-to-day and to the long-term vision for my life and for a role that God might have me play. I've had the privilege of being married to a pastor, a man of great faith, and I often say I don't have the gift of faith, but if you don't and you want to experience amazing things, you find someone who does and hold on for the ride. So we have planted churches together, and everything in life we've been fortunate to not necessarily do the same thing, but to work together in whatever it is that we're doing. And so his heart was as much in this as mine. And we have just constantly asked the Lord for confidence and for clarity. And I have to say, the individual that I took over from Gary Breitkreitz had been a member for 22 years, a strong believer as well. And in talking with me, he said, Cathy, don't worry, God will show you your files. And I can attest to that. I've had many opportunities that I just never imagined would come my way. And God has done that.
Absolutely. He is so amazing. What church does your husband pastor at?
He's from the North American Baptist Conference, and actually went to college and seminary second career when we had 3 small children. And so began serving in 1991. And so it was second career for us. And so we planted 2 churches, and then we're serving in an established church when my husband felt we were called to go home. My dad got very ill and couldn't run his business. So he's entrepreneurial, and we came to help them. And that's when I had this opportunity at home to run again for the Conservative Party and become a member of Parliament.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite Bible verse, and why is that verse your favorite?
Well, that's interesting. It's right here. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And that's from Joshua 1:9. It sits on my desk, and it actually was shared with me at a youth retreat many, many, many years ago. And I struggled to memorize, and that one just clicked and stayed there. And so I turned to that almost daily just to be reassured of God's
Mm,
presence and His strength in my life.
for sure. And it's a beautiful verse.
Hmm.
So, as an MP, you have organized the National Prayer Breakfast and the Young Christian Summit.
Hmm.
Um, can you tell us a bit more about these events and their purpose?
Sure. The National Prayer Breakfast is an event that goes on all over the world. It kind of originates in each country within a group of parliamentarians who get together weekly to pray. And that's the case here. We have senators and members of parliament and those who have maybe retired and come back for this, and from all parties. And we just park our partisan views at the door and just focus on scripture and prayer.
Mm,
And then that's the avenue through which this comes. And on an annual basis, the desire is always to meet on the Hill and to have an event where people can come and be part of a leadership dinner and the breakfast, hear wonderful speakers. And the most important thing is to pray for our nation. And
yes,
that's an incredible privilege. Yeah, and the Youth
absolutely.
Summit, yeah, the Youth Summit's attached to that in that everyone who comes to the Youth Summit is also part of that leadership dinner and the National Prayer Breakfast. So we're investing in the next generation of believers
Mm,
that are going to make a difference in Parliament, and it's a wonderful opportunity that we're attempting to grow. That's becoming a major focus for us. Wisdom, Michaela Rodel in my office oversees it and is doing a wonderful job.
okay. And how can young Christians be involved with the Youth Summit?
Best thing is to go online to see what's happening when. Our goal is to have an event on the Hill again this next coming May. We did have to go to a virtual version this year,
I
but
did
that
watch
had
it.
its, did you? Okay, and
Yeah.
that, yeah, that had its blessings in that more people were able to participate than can usually come to the Hill.
Hmm.
It's, this country is so huge, right? It's hard for
Hmm.
young people, but I would suggest if wanting to learn about politics, being a Christian, as a member of parliament, as staffer, part of the bureaucracy, to see the roles that we have and the opportunities to be believers making a difference in our country and in our world. Save your money and make that a priority for you to come. You won't regret it. And it's an opportunity to make connections as well within the Christian community. It's very
Hmm.
uplifting for young people to take part
Oh,
in.
for sure. And the Christian community is I've never experienced such a loving and inclusive community as the Christian community. It's really always
Mhm.
big smiles and lots of love.
Yeah.
Um, so you have endorsed Leslie Lewis's campaign to be the next leader of the Conservative Party. Why do you think she is the best candidate to lead our party into the next election?
Right. Oh, we've been praying, those of us that are believers on the Hill, for someone who would be able to take that role on and stand strong, stand firm in their beliefs, and to be able to do it in a way that is non-compromising and at the same
Yes.
time so unifying in the way that they approach things. And the more that I had gotten to know Leslyn and to hear her platform and to see her interact with the media on things that are important to her that she believes in, I realized, no question, that she would be my first choice. She's solid, she's got a wonderful background, and I believe that she can lead this country out of the circumstances we're in right now back to a true freedom of democracy and freedom of speech.
I totally agree with you. I
Mhm.
myself was undecided for a big part of the leadership race, and then I
Mhm.
hosted a webinar with her, and then after that, I endorsed her, and I was like, "This
Wonderful.
woman is
Yeah,
beyond. She represents the Canadian dream. She came here as a young child with a poor
exactly.
immigrant family, got 4 university degrees, her own business. Like this,
Hmm. Hmm.
it's just so
And
incredible."
yeah, and in many ways, you have to admit, I mean, these are things we don't plan, right? God
Hmm.
just brings the right person at the right time.
Yeah.
And the reality is that you're right, because of her background as a very successful woman and with a Jamaican heritage coming to Canada, this wonderful place that you can see your dreams fulfilled.
Hmm.
She's a remarkable candidate, future leader of our party, and Prime Minister of Canada.
Yes, I can so see her do such a good job in that. And even my father, who would never consider voting conservative, said that he likely would if she was leader. She would bring so
Exactly.
many new people to our party. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big part of it as well. You're right.
yeah. So before this pandemic and before Trudeau decided to suspend Parliament to not be held accountable, uh,
Hmm.
you had tabled Bill C-233, which is the
Right.
Sex Selective Abortion Act. Can you explain what this bill seeks to do and why you think parliamentarians should support it?
Sure. Um, as a brand new member of Parliament, I had an opportunity to be number 11 to present a private member's bill. And I chose Cassie and Molly's law, which was to protect pregnant women from being attacked and that child in their womb being injured or killed.
Hmm.
Right now, there's no recognition of that life. And
Hmm.
that was my first attempt at presenting a bill on this topic of caring about the rights of the preborn. Now, it wasn't an abortion bill, but I realized when I had the second opportunity, and I had prayed and asked God if I could have another one,
Hmm.
and we'll see where it goes at this point. But this one is specific in regards to a woman choosing to have an abortion or being encouraged to have an abortion simply on the basis of whatever the sex of that child is. So, we have a prime minister right now who claims that he cares a great deal about women and about equality and is a feminist. Well,
Hmm.
then you have to respect the value of a girl, of a woman, right from the moment of conception, right from the beginnings of life. And as I was thinking this through, there was a poll that was done, a Blue Dart poll published in the National Post, that was amazing because it asked very direct questions about abortion. Should this be illegal or legal on different topics? And one of them was, should you be able to have an abortion based solely on wanting a baby girl or a baby boy? In most cases, it's a boy. 84% of Canadians disagree with this. And the paper said exactly what I've believed and what I've learned as I've talked to so many Canadians, is that we are not as polarized on this issue as the media and a lot of the politicians want you to think that we are. So it's an
Hmm.
opportunity to bring Canadians together on an issue that is not closed, right? It's not closed as much as the media wants
No.
you to believe that it is. It will never be until we have opportunity for true debate. And I believe that there's many issues like this one, like late-term abortions, partial birth abortions, and as Leslin has, expressed, we should not be allowing women to be coerced into this,
Oh,
and we should
absolutely
be
not.
providing pregnancy care to
Hmm.
encourage people to want to have that child. So this basically is a law that says that a medical practitioner cannot provide an abortion based solely on the sex of the child. And there's repercussions for that. And we've also called on the federal government to do its job and to work with the provinces to outline exactly what the reporting requirements would be for medical practitioners on that issue.
Right. And I want to ask you, so how would a practitioner be able to know if this is a sex selective abortion? Because somebody
Right.
could just go in and say, this is an unplanned pregnancy. I want to get rid of this baby. But in reality, it's because they don't want a girl. So how would they know
Right.
truly that this person wants a sex selective abortion?
Right. Well, the truth of the matter is people say, well, there's no point in this because you can't really know. And actually, doctors are from what I'm seeing and hearing, are relieved to have this as an opportunity to be able to make that decision because they're discerning. They spend
Hmm.
a lot of time discerning what the conditions are of their patients. So it does give them an opportunity to say, what, I can't do this on this basis. This is my perception. You're right. The individual could just simply lie. That's true. But that doesn't mean that you don't create laws around the
Yeah.
moral values of your country. And
Hmm.
right now, Canada is the only democratic country in the world with absolutely no laws on abortion.
Hmm.
And your laws reflect your values. right? Your priorities. We could say, how often do you catch a drunk driver? Well, then let's just throw that law out of the window. Well, that doesn't make sense at all.
Hmm.
So from that perspective, as well, there are many scenarios where there are individual doctors who do this specifically for this purpose, and they would have to know they are, they're being watched. And W5 actually did do an operation where they went under, behind the scenes without them
Yeah.
knowing they were actually being filmed. And there's ways for the police then to, use the laws that are there.
Yeah, for sure. As you said, banning sex selective abortion is something that the vast majority of Canadians agree with,
Hmm.
84%. But unfortunately, your bill will likely not get 84% of MPs supporting it. Why do you think that so many politicians in Canada are so reluctant to discuss issues like abortion?
Mm. Yeah, I think in the circumstances that we're in right now, you're correct. In the Liberal Party, actually the other parties as well, in a case where you should be able to vote your conscience on these issues, they are whipping their vote. And I
Hmm.
think it's time for members of parliament to stand up. It wasn't easy for me to bring this forward. Obviously, there's people even within my own party who are very apprehensive about it. But what we need to do is quit cowering and going back on our heels. We need to stand strongly. And when the majority of Canadians want something, that puts a whole new level of pressure on those politicians, because they generally
Hmm.
say, well, we respond to what, the people want. Well, here we have a very clear picture of that.
Yes.
And you don't give up. You just keep moving those markers. And in this case, we have an opportunity to bring unity to Canadians, and we have
Hmm.
an opportunity for the Prime Minister to truly show that he values equality and he values women and girls.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, he was seen on tape calling sex selective abortion a right. So it's a twisted
Hmm.
vision, in my opinion, but that's just
Exactly.
Justin
Well, and it
Trudeau,
is.
right?
Yeah.
So to finish off, what message do you have for young Christian Canadians who are thinking about getting involved with politics?
Well, I would say, first of all, make sure that you're in prayer and you have people around you to learn from and to question. Make a point of really getting to know what each of the political parties in our country stand for. And the
Mhm.
best way to do that is not on Facebook,
Yeah, yes.
right? Or in the media. It is go to their individual websites, look at what their principles are, what their current platform is. And, my husband is a pastor. You're not allowed in Canada to stand at your pulpit and say, get out and vote for so and so. But what he always said is, listen, whoever you support, you need to know what that party stands for, what their values are. You need to compare that to what Scripture says, and
Mhm.
then where they're struggling to meet those requirements of God, if you're going to stay with that party, you need to be active in changing those things within that party. And you can do that
Mhm.
through getting involved as a volunteer, being on electoral district association board, being part of a constitution and policy team, attending conventions, and helping with campaigns to find people who reflect your Christian values, or see yourself in that position as well.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Cathay, I want to really thank you for coming on today and sharing these beautiful messages with
Mhm.
me. And I wish you the best of luck with this bill and with the rest of your term as an
Well,
MP.
thank you so much. And I want you to know as well, and your viewers, that there are a lot of solid Christians on this hill and people with strong pro life values more than ever before. And I believe that your generation is the one that's going to bring about the true changes here. You have an incredible opportunity. Be proud, be courageous, trust in the Lord, and He will use you in amazing ways. So,
Absolutely. I hope that you enjoyed our interview. If you want to learn more about Cathay Wagantall and the work that she does, then you'll find a link in the description to her website. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment below if you feel like it. Thank you, and God bless you.